Okay, this is now the tarot process number 20, or part 29. And the last one I talked about a relationship spread, and Sandra asked for something more because she's looking for, I don't know, I can't remember word for word what she said, but she wants more about relationship spread. So this is what this is about. I have to look over here because I made notes and I don't want to forget. So let's say you know somebody who's 16 years old and they just broke up with their boyfriend or girlfriend. You would talk to them and you would say certain things and maybe explain how to handle relationships better. But you would say certain things. But then let's say you also know somebody who's 29 and they just broke up with their boyfriend or girlfriend, and maybe it was a 4-year relationship. So you're going to talk to somebody who's been through a similar kind of experience of a breakup, and it's serious and it's emotional, and they care, and they've lost somebody, and you need to say something. So what you say things to the 29-year-old that are maybe similar to what you would say to the 16-year-old, but you know that 16 and 29 are not the same. So you adapt what you say to the 29-year-old to fit the circumstances. And let's say you also know somebody who's 60, they're divorced with 2 children, and they met another 60-year-old who's divorced with 2 children, and they've had a relationship for a while and they've broken up. So again, you're dealing with a relationship that's broken up. What do you say to the 60-year-old? Again, ideally you're going to help them out with useful information, but you're not going to say to the 60-year-old what you said to the 29-year-old, and that's not going to be the same as what you said to the 16-year-old. So the point I want to make here is you, personally, when you're talking to people, you adapt and change what you say, and you tailor what you say for the questioner and the question and the state of mind of the questioner at that moment, because you're sensitive to if they're particularly touchy. If they kind of get over it a bit, you can maybe introduce awkward facts or give them ideas about how to handle a situation better. Whereas if you're really touchy, you know you can't broach that side of the subject. So the point is, you adapt what you say with people, and I think we ought to learn to, or make use of the fact that we can adapt a card's meaning to answer different kinds of questions. And I think that's important when it comes to relationship spreads. So, okay, my favourite word in Latin is cras, C-R-A-S, which means tomorrow. And I got really excited one day, years and years ago, when I came across the origins of the word procrastinate. Because in the middle of procrastinate, you've got C-R-A-S. You've got cras, that means tomorrow. And pro is a prefix that means in favour of. Right, so you've got a little prefix meaning in favour of, and you've got the word for tomorrow. So you procrastinate, you put it off in favour of doing it tomorrow. So we use words all the time. And the words are, some other languages like German and Norwegian are made up of little bits and pieces, and you put them all together into a big word. We've actually got quite a lot of the same in English, but people aren't aware of the root. So I mentioned before that the word TWO, the word to, gives us the word doubt, D-O-U-B-T, because T and D interchange and so on. So there are rules for the development of languages. So if you doubt, you've got 2 minds. You get twins, TW, 2, right? Twilight, TWI, light, where you've got the sunlight and moonlight at the same time, twin lights. Okay, so think about a tarot card. Let's say you've got the King of Cups. You've got a king, which you come up with ideas about what a king represents, and you've got the sort of cups which represent love and emotions. So you get the king is an older person who has experienced a certain amount of wisdom and a certain amount of knowledge, right? And you put that together with cups, which is an emotion, among other things. So you get the king of cups is somebody who knows how to control their emotions. Whereas the king of cups reversed is somebody who can't control their emotions. So if the king of cups appears upright and you're going through a difficult situation, you're going to be able to come out on top because the answer is the king of cups. Whereas with the king of cups reversed as the final outcome, then you're not going to handle it that well. Or maybe you become aware of the influence and the impact that your emotions, your negative emotions or your excitable emotions are having on the situation and on the question. And knowing that you're likely to be overreacting, tie it back a bit and don't be as excited or as excitable, maybe is what you say. So, a relationship spread. If you do a formal spread, I wrote down formal spread. So I looked on the internet and there's like 98, there's a book, 98 relationship spreads, and they're all basically the same. You've got something that tells you about the questioner, something that tells you about the other person, about the relationship itself, about a final outcome, about other people's influence, about the fears of each person, the subconscious fears of each person, which is really difficult to talk about, to know that you're actually talking about a subconscious fear. So if you look for a formal spread, you're going to get that kind of information. But I think with formal spreads, it assumes that the questioner knows what they want to ask. Because sometimes people ask one question, maybe they don't know the reader that well, so they want to keep a little bit private. Or maybe they ask a question that they think they ought to ask, but they don't really want to know that. Or they ask a question and then partway through the answer they come up with, do you know, I really don't care about that. What I really want to know is this. So there's all sorts of situations that can happen if you've got a formal relationship spread, and all sorts of ways in which it can go wrong. Right? So an example I thought of was you're going through a relationship spread and you're talking about what you are like and what the other person's like and what you bring to the relationship, and the questioner says, hey, you know, I don't really care about a long-term relationship. I just want to meet somebody to have sex with. Right? So it's changed. The question was, how can I find love? But what they really mean is, how can I find somebody to have sex with? But do you know what I mean? It's like, how does that change what you've said about the first few cards? And how does that change what you're going to say about the rest of the spread, which may no longer be applicable? Right? So, I think I covered that bit. There's also, it also assumes that the reader understands the question. And it's easy to think that you understand, but think of the number of times in your life when you've said to somebody, oh, you meant not with a tarot reading, but just in life with people, that you misunderstand what they meant or what they said. Oh, I thought you meant such and such. How many times have you said that? So it's easy to do and normal to misunderstand what people say. So you get a situation like a tarot reading and the person says, I want to know this and this and this. But what do you hear? What do you understand that they want to know? And that's another possible source of confusion for a relationship spread. So when I was thinking about what Sandra had asked, I thought there are basically 5 types of relationship questions, I think. And one of them is, people want to know, is it going to work? Is the relationship going to work? They also want to know, how can I make it better sometimes? Sometimes they want to know, will I ever meet somebody? That's a typical question. Lots of people want to know, how does this other person feel about me? Maybe you went out and you want to know, do they still care, or do they still love me, or whatever it happens to be. And the other type of question is, why did it go wrong? And I think if you've got those 5 types of questions, then it covers kind of everything that anybody would want to know about a relationship. So, I'm thinking, I picked 3 cards, and I'm trying not to touch the microphone. So, I shuffled a few minutes ago, and I picked 3 cards to see. So, instead of doing a relationship spread, Sandra, try this. Do a past, present and future. 3 cards, past, present and future, for the relationship or for the person's experience of relationships. And so the cards that I got were the 4 of Cups, this one, person sitting below a tree, 3 cups and there's 1 in the air. The middle card was the 2 of Batons, this person standing on a high tower or a high building looking into the distance, holding the world in his hand. And then the 3rd card I got was the 3 of Cups reversed. You got these women dancing, but it's upside down. So, with that in mind, I'm putting them on there. With that in mind, the question was, will this relationship work? So you've got the past, the present and the future. The past is the 4 of Cups. So you look at the past and the present to get an idea of what things were like and what they're like now. And then you look to the present and the future to get an idea of how is it going to develop. So in the past, so the person says, is it going to work? And you look at the 3 cards and you say, in the past, this is you or the other person, knowing what you care about because you're looking at the 3 cups. But maybe you're looking for something better or something different or somebody else, the cup in the air. The present position shows the 2 of Batons. You've got somebody standing holding, so it's as if the cup, the hand in the cloud holding the cup is now in your life because you've got somebody holding the world in his hand, right? So it's you were looking for somebody, you found them or they found you, and what's going to happen in the future? It's not going to work because the 3 of Cups is upside down. So Cups is happiness among other things, or emotional fulfillment, or something like love, for instance, but it's upside down. So things get out of hand, or things don't go the way that you want them to go. So it's not going to work, even though it's good at the moment because of the 2 Batons. Question 2 was, how do I make it better? So you look at the card, in the past, the 4 of Cups, how do you make it better? You see this cup in the cloud. How do you make it better? You figure out what you want that's more than what you've got. You've got 3 cups, you want 4. So how do you make it better? Imagine what you could do or what you could introduce into the relationship that would make it that is missing, that would make it better. How do you make it better? Think about the long-term future, or what the general direction is in which you're going to go, because the person's standing on top of a high building looking into the distance, and the distance can be into the future. And what else do you do to make it better? Don't get drunk, as is one way of looking at the 3 of Cups upside down. Or don't get emotional. If you find yourself getting emotional and getting worked up about something, stop. Don't let yourself get carried away by the emotion of the moment. So excuse yourself, and maybe this is where you, because of your experience and your knowledge, you give them some particular technique that will help them get control of their emotions at a difficult period, so they don't give in to their emotions and say things they're going to regret or do things that they wish they hadn't done. The third one was, will I ever meet somebody? And so in the past, this is you wanting to meet somebody, right? You've got, you know the people you know, but it's not enough. You want somebody new or somebody different, right? Will you ever meet somebody? Yes, because somebody's here. You've got a person standing, looking into the distance. That could be you looking for somebody, but it can also be somebody looking for you, even though you haven't met them yet. Although because of the present, if you haven't met them right now, you're going to meet them soon. And what was the question? Will I ever meet somebody? Yes, but watch out that you don't try to do too much too soon. It's a bit like you meet somebody and you say to them, I like you, let's get married. Which is okay, and maybe you mean it, but it's a bit too much too soon. So if you, or when you meet somebody, take it easy. Don't get carried away. Or if you find yourself getting carried away, you can do it, you can actually pinch yourself and get your attention back onto what's in front of you. How did they feel about me? Well, you were what they were looking for, right? Because they wanted somebody different, somebody better. How do they feel about you now? They put you on a pedestal because this is probably you on a high area, and so they've got how do they feel about you? They put you on a pedestal, they admire you, they think you're wonderful. But the Three of Cups reversed, they're a bit intimidated by you. So when they see you, they go weak at the knees, or they get over emotional, or they begin to stutter, or they begin to sweat, or they go red in the face, which is an indication that you're a little bit intimidated or very intimidated by the other person. So how do they feel about you? So is there a chance of romance? We've got the Four of Cups and we've got the Three of Cups reversed. Is there a chance of romance? Not quite. I think we'd have to say not quite. It looks good because you're looking for somebody, they're looking for somebody. We've got the card of victory in the middle, but the future card is the Three of Cups, but it's upside down. And if you don't use reverse cards, you should. Sorry, I'm just being controversial. And the last one, why did it go wrong? Why did it go wrong? Past, you should have done what you knew you should have done, right? We've got 3 cups and we've got a 4th cup. And because it went wrong, we're looking at this card as indicating what you didn't do or what went wrong or what didn't work out. So you knew what to do. There were times when you thought, we should go out to dinner or something like that. And you didn't. Or you had good ideas about what to do, but you talked yourself out of it. Or because you weren't in the mood, you knew that it was important to the other person, but you couldn't be bothered, so you didn't bother doing it. And that's why it didn't work, because you're not sensitive to the other person's needs. Where did it go wrong? You focused too much on what was way out there and what was way in the distance instead of focusing on what was right in front of you. You had the world in your hands. You had a good relationship. It could have worked, but you were focused on maybe the people, what it was going to be like in 10 years, or maybe you focused on people that you knew who seemed to have a better relationship than you, and you looked into the distance instead of looking at what was right in front of you. And why did it go wrong? Because cups, I have to say, because you drank too much. You celebrated when you shouldn't have been celebrating, or you took a celebration and let it get out of hand, or you sort of went overboard with the situation and just got overly boisterous or overly miserable or overly whatever it happens to be, and it just became too much for the other person. Because you can take a certain amount, like let's say you know somebody, you go out with somebody and maybe twice a year they go crazy. You don't mind because it's only twice a year. But with this Three of Cups reversed, it was twice a week and it was too much. So I think that's what you do with a relationship spread. Instead of trying to find one that seems to answer all the questions, you can find a good one, but it can go wrong. It can easily and quickly go wrong because you're asking the wrong question, or the person realizes partway through that that's not what they're interested in, or you misunderstand what they're asking about. So you talk, but they don't get what you're talking about. So, whereas if you do something like past, present and future, they can say, well, they can raise an objection or talk about something that happened in the past or at the beginning of the relationship that they're in, and you've got something to relate it to. Because they say something, and then you look at the past card, in this case the Four of Cups, and you're saying, okay, that's so. I can't think of an example right now, but let's say somebody talks about how they wanted to break up 3 months ago, and you look at that Four of Cups, and you do something with. So they wanted to break up 3 months ago, and you've got the Three of Cups, or the Four of Cups there. So I can't think of what to say. Okay, it happens sometimes that you just go in the wrong direction, or you end up not knowing what to say. So what do? You say to the person, you could pick a card. Let's say the person talks about how that they want that the partner you're asking about wanted to break up 3 months ago, but okay, so how did you deal with that situation? They said they wanted to break up. What did you say? How did you convince them to stay? And that's looking at the Four of Cups, where you've got, what did you offer to do that would make a difference to what you were already used to, right? The Three Cups is what you're used to. The Fourth Cup in the air is what you offered, or what you suggested, or what you said you were willing to do to make the relationship better and to improve it. And then by the questioner realizing or remembering what it is that they promised or that they said they would do, it changes their understanding of the relationship and what it can do. Or you pick a card to know what happened when the person tried to break up. And then I don't like doing that kind of thing, like asking for cards to explain some other card. I think you make yourself stick with the card that you've got and figure out how to adapt the meaning of the card to answer the particular question. Okay, that went longer than I thought. So thank you for watching. Have a nice day. Okay, that was it. I'm off. Okay, bye-bye. I'll see you in a few days.